My narcissistic sister kicked me and my daughter out of our parents' house. Now my parents can't pay the mortgage and are begging me to help. I'm 33, a single mother with a 5-year-old daughter. I divorced my husband almost immediately after giving birth because he cheated on me during my pregnancy and postpartum period. I cut him out of my life and moved in with my parents. 2 days ago, I came home from work and saw my younger sister Ava, 29, with a huge pregnant belly. After her wedding, she moved to Croatia with her husband. I was glad she left because she always treated me horribly. She never loved me. There wasn't a specific reason for her hatred. She just thought she was better than me. She turned our parents against me, and as the younger one, she got away with everything. Though she's younger, she's tall and strong while I'm small and slender. If she grabbed my wrist, I couldn't break free. Anyone who saw us would know I couldn't fight her on equal terms. But my parents didn't believe me when I complained that she bullied me. They said she's your younger sister. She wouldn't have the strength, so I kept my distance, avoiding her unless absolutely necessary. Luckily, I moved to another city in high school, and it was a real relief. And now this monster is back in my life. Seeing she was pregnant, I thought she came so our parents could help her after giving birth. I asked Mom how long she'd stay. Eva overheard and yelled from the living room, "I'm moving here." What, you don't like it? God, she hasn't changed at all, still as narcissistic as ever. Mom said Ava's husband was transferred back to the States. His company provided housing, but since Ava's pregnant, they decided she'd be better off living with our parents. They could care for her during pregnancy and after birth. I asked Mom if she had time to care for a baby. She hesitantly said, "Well, we'll have to. Ava's so young. How can she handle a baby alone? She needs help." I was stunned. Seriously, Eva's 29 and can't raise her own child. I was 27 when I gave birth and managed alone because my husband was busy. Mom didn't come help either. She said I needed to learn to raise my child myself since it's part of motherhood. But now that her golden girl is pregnant, she's ready to be her nanny. The hypocrisy is unreal. Their favoritism was always obvious, so I kept my distance. When I split with my husband, I rented a place and didn't move in with my parents. But Dad insisted I move in with them, saying their house was too big for two, and they'd watch my daughter while I worked. That's what he said, at least. Instead of paying for separate housing, I could live with them and pay rent. It seemed reasonable, especially since I was so emotionally drained I couldn't think clearly. Pregnancy, postpartum, depression, my husband's cheating divorce. So when Dad offered help, I gladly accepted. I moved in with them. Living there was okay, except the promised help with my daughter was a lie. Mom only agreed to watch her a couple of times. I almost always had to hire a nanny. Mom said she couldn't be a full-time babysitter, so I should hire one, and she'd just check if the nanny was doing okay. She wanted to be a living security camera. I thought it was better for Mom to be around than to leave my daughter alone with a stranger, so I had a full-time nanny. It's so frustrating to see Mom fussing over my sister bringing her food medicine and vitamins. She never did that for me. In my entire 9 months of pregnancy, she visited me maybe 2 or 3 times, and only once after I gave birth. Since learning Eva was staying for good, I've had a feeling they're plotting something. Seriously, how could they agree to let Eva move in permanently? Our house isn't big enough for everyone. I don't mind moving out, but my daughter's too young to be left without supervision. Even though Mom doesn't babysit her constantly, it was still reassuring to have her around. If I move out, I'd need a nanny at home all the time, which is risky since you never know how safe it is to leave a child with one. I know I'm an anxious mom, but I'm a single mother, and my daughter is my only joy. Yes, I'm overprotective, but what can I do? She's my life. Thanks for all the advice. It helped me calm down a bit. My worst fear came true. 2 days after my post, I came home from work and saw my belongings packed and on the porch with my daughter sitting beside them. I asked her who did it, and she said Aunt Eva packed everything and sat her there. My daughter is a quiet, well-mannered child. The poor thing sat there for hours waiting for me. I asked, "Where are Grandma and Grandpa?" She didn't answer, just hugged me and said she waited for me because she was scared of Aunt Eva. I asked if Eva yelled at her or hurt her. She cried and said Eva shouted something she didn't understand and threw my things around so angrily that she got scared. I stormed into the room, yelling at Eva, demanding an explanation. She said, "You're picking a fight with a pregnant woman, I can call the cops." "You know I can, right?" I shot back. "I can call the cops too for intimidating my daughter while I was gone." She laughed and said, "Got proof Mom was here when I packed. You know whose side she'll take, right?" After those words, I realized talking to her was pointless. I called for Mom, but she didn't respond. She was home, but locked herself in her room. Eva's malicious laugh made it clear they were all in on it. Eva smirked at my helplessness and said, "Here's a hint, dummy. Nobody wants you here. We packed for you, even made it easy. Don't you see I'm pregnant and need space? Me and my kid are living here. Now get your lazy ass up and get out." I said, "I'm not going anywhere. Unlike you, I'm not freeloading. I pay rent." But before I could finish, she lunged at me like she did when we were kids. "You pay rent? Got a receipt or contract?" "Exactly. How long are you going to leech off our parents' wallet, you pathetic loser? That's why your husband found comfort in another woman's bed. Because you're worthless. Get out before I smack you in front of your kid." My daughter ran to me and hugged me. She was terrified by the yelling and hysteria. I loaded our stuff into the car and left with my daughter. There was nothing more to discuss. My parents turned out to be spineless in front of her. She wasn't lying when she said Mom was there while she packed my things. More likely, Mom and Dad helped her. She's 7 months pregnant. She couldn't have moved cabinets or carried heavy suitcases alone. They were all in on it. Her husband earns enough, and they could have lived separately. But no, she came to our parents' house and kicked me out. She's obsessed with ruining my life. She left her husband in his company apartment and came here to torment me. I don't understand what I did to make her hate me so much, or why my parents don't even try to stand up to her. I booked a hotel room for a week and started looking for housing. It was damn tough work and apartment hunting at the same time. Finding a place in a week is nearly impossible. One of my colleagues was looking for a roommate. I asked her to take me in. Nobody wants to live with a mom and kid, but I promised my daughter wouldn't bother her and I'd move out as soon as I found a place. She was kind and agreed. I've been living with her for 2 weeks. I found affordable housing near my work and my daughter's kindergarten, but the current tenant won't move out for another month. I've already reserved it and am waiting for it to be free. It's been almost 3 weeks since I moved out, or rather was kicked out. My daughter still flinches, scared that Aunt Eva will find us and hurt us. The poor girl can't explain exactly what Eva did, but she sobs that Eva yelled, glared with crazy eyes, and threatened to hit her if she cried. She still cries and wets the bed out of fear of Eva. I don't know how to help my daughter forget that day. I feel so helpless when I see her sad, remembering it. I still can't process how unsafe she felt then. She went through trauma while I wasn't there, and this woman, a future mother, has no shred of empathy for a child. I'll never forgive her. If I get a chance to get back at her, I'll crush her. I was looking for a chance to get even, and it came. As I wrote last year, I paid rent to live in my parents' house. Dad asked me to pay an extra $5,000, promising to pay it back later. I agreed, wanting to help. I didn't know he was using my rent and the $5,000 for the mortgage. Now that I moved out, I stopped paying. On the 10th, Dad called in a panic. "Why didn't you send the money this month? I got a bank notice that the auto payment failed due to insufficient funds." I couldn't hold back my laughter. He was so sure I'd keep paying rent even after moving out that he didn't check the balance or keep extra money. I said, "Hello, I don't live in your house anymore. Your golden girl kicked me out, remember? Why would I pay rent? He paused, then said, how am I supposed to pay the mortgage? I have almost no income. Store sales are down. Everything I earn goes to household expenses. I used your rent and the $5,000 for mortgage payments. I replied, that's not my problem. I don't owe you anything. I paid for my stay and bought my own food. Ask your narcissistic daughter for help. I'm sure she'll happily bail you out. I hung up. An hour later, Mom called. She said, your dad can't pay the mortgage, and instead of helping you hang up, you forgot we were there when your loser husband left you. This is how you repay us. Swallow your stupid pride and send the money like before. I said, do you hear yourself? You let me live with you. Because I paid rent, and you used that for the mortgage. I hired a nanny when I needed help. You didn't help. What support are you talking about? She realized I wasn't going to take it quietly like when I was a kid. I know how to stand up for myself now. She softened her tone. Honey, Ava is pregnant. She needs more space, so she asked you to move out temporarily. There's no reason to be upset. I said she didn't ask me. She threw me out while you all turned a blind eye and kept quiet. She traumatized my daughter, and I'll never forgive you for that. She tried to defend her precious daughter again. She's just a bit immature. Don't mind her words. You're older and wiser. Be generous, forgive her, and send us the money. It's always about money. I smirked and said, I'm not the doormat you used to wipe your feet on. You always put Eva above me. By letting her torment my daughter, you crossed every line. I never wanted to live with you, but stayed because I was scared to leave my daughter with a nanny. Now she feels more unsafe around you than with a stranger. Mom started crying and apologizing. I cut her off. Enough. Your crocodile tears don't work anymore. I'm not giving a cent. Stop calling me. They haven't called since. It's been a month. I guess they're managing the mortgage somehow, or their golden girl is helping. I don't care what's happening with them. I'm happy in my small, cozy home with my daughter. I hired a nanny to watch her after kindergarten. She's a middle-aged woman with a son 5 years older than my daughter. She brings him along, and they have a great time together. It's so nice to come home to a happy, loved child. Life is really getting better. Just keep going. Hi, everyone. First, thanks for all your support and kind words. It means a lot to me. Second, sorry for rarely posting updates. There are 2 reasons. First, there was nothing new. I completely cut contact with my parents and narcissistic sister. Second, I've been swamped. I got promoted this year, yay, but it comes with more responsibility. My salary increased, but I've been buried in work and mom duties. Now I have an interesting update. Last week, my parents showed up at my workplace. They didn't know where I live, so they came to my job. I told security not to let them in because I was busy and wasn't seeing anyone. Through the blinds, I saw them arguing with security, refusing to leave. They looked aged, like they gained 10 years in one. Mom was holding a baby. I instantly knew it was Eva's child. I got curious and went out to them. Seeing me, they broke down begging me as their last hope to save the house. Dad said he hadn't paid the mortgage for 7 or 8 months. He spent all his savings on the first 2 or 3 months after I left. The bank gave them time, but they kept missing payments. Last month, they were evicted and the house was put up for sale. They've been living in a rundown apartment since. They came to ask me to save the house. I listened calmly and asked why their precious daughter wasn't helping. They looked down and said her husband kicked her out after catching her with a lover, and the baby isn't even his. All the stories about a transfer and company housing were lies. Her husband is still in Croatia, and they're divorcing. I was shocked. And even after that, you keep supporting her. Mom cried and said we didn't know. She didn't tell us. She said she came here to give birth. But when you left and we asked her to help with the mortgage, the truth came out. I said, And what did you do when you learned the truth, hugged her, and cried? You kept supporting her. That's why you're holding her baby. They said, how could we abandon her in that state? She had nowhere to go. We spent all our savings on her medical bills and delivery. They looked pitiful. I stayed quiet, thinking what to do. Without much thought, I asked, where's Eva now? Mom mumbled something, but Dad shot her a look and said, she's at home, refusing to work. Mom cut in, how can she leave such a small baby and go to work? I laughed. Seriously, Mom, you're still defending her. Her baby's 7 or 8 months old. Women worldwide go back to work leaving 6-month-olds at home, and Eva's no better. Given her situation, she should have found a job long ago. They started begging again. I said, I don't have that kind of money to save your house. Dad said if I paid the overdue amounts, he could ask the bank to stop the sale and continue monthly payments for the rest. I said, I don't have that money. I spent all my savings on a deposit for my apartment and my daughter's elementary school enrollment. Mom made a sour face. I said, Mom, instead of making faces, try to understand. I'm a single mom pulling for myself and my child entirely alone. After they left, I felt so down. My manager noticed I was away from my desk for over an hour and asked what happened. I told her everything, and she gave me an idea. I called Dad and said I'd pay off the overdue mortgage and continue paying the rest, but on one condition, he must transfer the house to my name. It was my boss's suggestion. She advised me to buy the house. With my promotion and raise, I can handle the mortgage. I'd been helping them pay it for years and am ready to pull the house out of debt again. It'd be fair for them to do this. In return, I'd let them stay in the house, but without their awful daughter. Dad paused and said he'd discuss it with Mom and call back. I said, don't rush though, I'm not sure you have much time. A week passed and they haven't called. That's their answer. They don't agree. They'd rather watch their house go to auction and live in a shabby apartment than give up their golden girl and live comfortably. Well, it's their choice, and they'll live with it. Today, coming home from work, I thought for a second about driving by their house to see if a for sale sign was up, but quickly dismissed it. I decided to cut all ties with them a year ago and plan to stick to it. They're no longer a part of my life. I'm happy and at peace living with my daughter, watching her grow. She's in elementary school now, and I'm insanely proud of her. So before we move to the next story, I suggest sharing your opinion on this one. How do you think, is the author right to act this way? I personally think yes. Of course, she's completely right. Maybe it was wrong to protest when that awful sister arrived. It might have been better to just leave right away. But on the other hand, knowing myself, I'd probably have done the same in her place. Emotions, you know. On the flip side, it helped her set things straight and realize what her parents are truly worth. My grandma left my brother and me equal stock portfolios when we were kids. My brother sold his when it was worth about a car. I kept mine, and now it's worth serious money. Now my brother and his girlfriend want my half. When my brother was 16 and I was 4, Grandma left us stock portfolios. Once we were old enough, the stocks were transferred to our own accounts. 4 years later, my brother cashed his in and bought a new Honda. I knew about my portfolio much longer than he did, even before it was mine, and watched it grow since I understood what it was. By the time I got full control, it was worth a ridiculous amount because most of the money was in Apple. I still can't decide whether to use the funds because Dad drilled into me since childhood to let them grow until I'm 40. I barely talk to my brother. He's made a lot of dumb choices over the years, and we didn't really grow up together, so all I know about him comes from Dad. His new girlfriend works in law, and I got an official letter from them saying the investments Grandma made were meant for both of us. Not just me, and that his share was only about $15,000. That's true, but my portfolio was worth that much when he spent his. Now they want half of my current portfolio's value. His girlfriend told me if I don't give them access, legal fees and fines will eat my share, and I'll be left with nothing. The dividends alone cover a huge part of my expenses and have bailed me out many times. If half disappears, I'll have to cut back. I know it sounds selfish, but I'm used to this extra income that cushions me when I want to move. I've lived in 4 states by choice and want to keep moving before settling down if I ever do. Mostly good news. I talked to Dad and hired my own lawyer. I got the timeline wrong about the stocks, but the gist is the same. What my brother and I inherited from Grandma was originally part of Grandpa's portfolio. He was great with finances. After his death, Grandma managed the investments. She set up accounts for my brother and gave him control of his share. She didn't get to do that for me before she died. I thought she'd already set mine up and handed it to Dad before her death. But actually, the stocks were listed in her will, and she left everything she owned to Dad with instructions that when I grew up and could manage it, I should get an amount equivalent to $15,000 like my brother. There was no trust. She just trusted Dad. Dad did the right thing. He opened accounts for me and transferred control 6 years ago. He even added some of his own stocks to give me a boost. Dad admitted he yelled at my brother last year when he asked for money again. He's helped him out many times, but got tired of it. My brother found out I still had my investments because Dad used me as an example of how to manage money. That's how he learned my stocks were still there and had grown. Based on all this, my lawyer said, I'm in the clear and it won't go to court because my brother's girlfriend was just a legal assistant. I say, was because the firm she worked at apologized to my lawyer and said she was fired immediately. Turns out the letter I got was forged. She inflated her position and altered some contact info. A week after her firing, my brother came begging for money. His girlfriend has serious debts, and she tried to scam me out of money and failed. It was hard to keep refusing my brother. If his girlfriend hadn't asked for a 5-figure sum, I might have given him something. But the next morning, I found all my tires slashed. Screw him! I'm done feeling sorry. Your comments on my post made me realize I know jack about stocks, dividends, or money in general. Most of my decisions came from Dad's advice, which has worked great so far, not because I knew what I was doing, but because I didn't, and relied on him. I signed up with a financial advisor to make the most of what I have. Thanks for all the advice. That's it for now. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Check out our previous video, which you'll see here, and good luck to you.